Welcome, everybody, to the virtual tasting with Joy Sterling at Iron Horse Vineyards. Joy, can you
Hi,
hear me?
everybody. I can hear
Yeah.
you. Oh, my gosh. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It is a cold, rainy day here in Sebastopol, and welcome to my living room. I can't think of a better place to be right now than sitting on the floor of my living room and drinking bubbles. It's kind of the perfect thing to be doing right now, and I'm just so thrilled that you have joined us today. Thank you so much. My family and I so appreciate your friendship and your support of our wines. And right now, I just think that
That was a happy sound, wasn't it?
did you hear that popping sound? I love that, Jeff. Thank you so much for doing that. I opened I started a little earlier. I'm so sorry. I do want to make mention, that the sommeliers say that you should only hear like the sigh of an angel. There shouldn't be any sound when you're, but I totally disagree.
I disagree with that one.
I love the popping sound, and I used to say, that's my favorite. Hi, Lori. I used to say that is my favorite sound, and then a very great friend of mine said, no, Joy, just tell people it's your second favorite sound, and leave it at that. And
so let me introduce myself. I'm Jeff Stevenson. I'm a longtime friend of Joy Sterling. Why am I even here? Joy and I have been friends for a long time. I was a winemaker for many years in Sonoma County, and so we both sort of make wines here. And I have a company that has some technology platform like webinars, and I said, Joy, would you like to do a virtual tasting so I can help you with that? So I'm going to be your master of ceremony. I guess Joy's going to do all the talking, of course, but we'll take questions. In your Zoom video, if you go down in the middle right here, there's something that says Q&A and chat. If you open those windows, you will be able to ask questions. And I already see a few questions coming in. We've got an awful lot of people that have attended. We got 15 people that are here. That's fantastic. Let's see, I'm going to say who's here. We've got Bern Graff, Glenn Markin, Kim Wallace. Hello, Kim. Chris Milner, my mom, Linda Stevenson. That's awesome. Mark Rivera. Mom is here. Yes, that's right. That's great.
Hi, Mom.
I love it. And several others. Yeah, 14 folks now. Rob Ruich, Steve Eastwood, Timothy Lockman. Welcome, all you guys. Go ahead and ask any questions along the way, and I will repeat them, and we'll try and get them all answered. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and spotlight Joy's video, so she's the center stage. There you go, Joy. Take it away.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Oh my God, my eyes. You can see I just woke up not too long ago. So, first of all, one of the prerogatives of being a sparkling wine producer is that we have the privilege of proposing the first toast. So I would like to toast all of you today. Thank you so much. To me, they say that food is love, but wine is community. So here's to all of you. Cheers. That's fun. Did you hear the clinks? And I hope you all looked in each other's eyes while you were clinking. It's very important.
It is.
So I am enjoying our 2011 Brut Rosé LD. I am taking to heart the philosophy of breaking out the good stuff. I just think we need to live for today. I was very interested to read in the New York Times last Wednesday a story about comfort wine, which is something I hadn't really thought of before. I certainly know what comfort food is, but I hadn't really thought about comfort wine. And one of the things that I found very striking about the article is that it specifically mentioned bubbles as being a comfort wine. which I love, of course. And one reason is that these gorgeous little bubbles raise your spirits. So there is a inherent cheerfulness to sparkling wine that is we just need so much right now. And that also there is something incredibly encouraging about opening up your refrigerator and seeing at least 2 chilled bottles in your fridge of sparkling wine at all times. It just buoys you. It makes you feel much more confident about moving forward, which is part of what we're all about right now. The 2011 Brut Rosé LD is a beautiful wine. It's 2011, which means that it has been aged for 8+ years on the yeast. And what that means is that the bubbles are incredibly tiny. You know, the difference between non-vintage, vintage, and tête de cuvée, non-vintage only has to be aged 18 months. Vintage is a minimum of 3 years. Tête de cuvée is 6 to 8 years. And what happens is the longer the wine is aged on the yeast, the tinier the bubbles. And so the richer and creamier the mouthfeel is, just a sheer quality step up. And for my money, when you're drinking top of the line bubbles like this, you should not even have to swallow. It should just effervesce away in your mouth. And I do have a fantasy of explaining that to the highway patrolman on my way to the supermarket. Officer, I swear, I did not swallow. It just effervesced away in my mouth. So this is the wine that I am recommending for, number one, the full moon coming up, because it's the full pink moon. You know, every full moon has a name from folklore, and you can read about it in the Farmer's Almanac. And the pink moon is because right now, this time of year, so many pink flowers are in bloom. But it also could just as easily have been named for rosé bubbles. And so I think that this is a great choice for that. And then we also have, of course, Easter and Passover coming up. And these are holidays that I think this year we're going to have to completely reimagine. In many families, both celebrations involve bringing a lot of people together. And of course, that's just not happening. So instead of having 20 people, we're going to be 2 people, or we're going to be 4 or 5 people. And one thought that I have is that, again, if you bring up the quality of your wine for these celebrations, I think that will help a lot because there are days that still need to be celebrated, even when we're in shelter in place. So we can't forget celebration is something that we need to do. We get so many calls from people asking for wedding cuvée because there are so many anniversaries happening. And so even though you can't celebrate with friends and family, it's still your anniversary. You still need to make a toast to the one that you love. And then there are those who, oh, my heart goes out to them, those who had scheduled weddings and they've been postponed. But that date is still really important. And that is also worth a special toast, a toast to love. So I just want to keep you sipping. So I want to propose a second toast. So here's to sharing the love. Keep sipping. It'll be much better if we keep sipping, I promise.
Awesome.
It is tasty.
It's
really tasty. Jeff, tell me what you're drinking right now.
I am drinking the Iron Horse Year of the Dog Chinese Cuvée. It's kind of topical these days. And we've been saving this for a long, long time. So this is one of your highest end products that you've got, and we love it. And I'm telling you what, it's it's damn extraordinary. In fact, I'm going to have some more right now. Joy, what did you make for brunch this morning?
Oh, I opened the bottle of bubbles. That's as far as I've gotten so far. But I love brunch. What did you have?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. We got pretty creative here, and let's see. I got up early this morning, and I made Model Bakery English muffins. And the Model Bakery is in Napa Valley. It's one of the most incredible bakeries you've ever seen. This is what the muffins look like when they come out of the oven. They're just beautiful, and that's what they look like when you break into them with a stick of butter.
Yum.
Yeah,
Yum.
so they're rising right now. They're going to be going in the oven right after this. So I'm expecting them to look just like that picture.
Well, let me tell you, one of the all-time great pairings with bubbles is, of course, anything that involves dough. These wines are aged on the yeast, so anything that involves yeast is going to go perfectly with the bubbles. So muffins, biscuits, bagels and bubbles are classic with smoked salmon, absolutely delicious.
What about something like this?
Ooh, frittata.
That's a frittata, yeah. That was a bacon and cheese and potato frittata that I made for my lovely wife, who is totally loving on me right now. I've been cooking a lot.
Well, I agree, Laura. You are lucky, but he's lucky too. He's lucky too.
You
all notice the background behind Jeff? That's actually a picture of our tasting room. By a show of hands, if you'll raise your hands, how many people have been to Iron Horse? It would be really fun to see. Yay, Lori, yes. So I just want to tell you where my house is on the while Jeff is doing the big math here.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 people raised their hands. So
yay!
Vast majority have been to the Iron Horse tasting room. Awesome.
How wonderful. All right, so this is perfect. I can tell you where my house is on the property. When you're driving to the winery, before you cross the bridge across Little Green Valley Creek, the white farmhouse on the right, jutting into the vineyards, is my house. And as I hope a lot of you know, we have 3 generations living on the property. So I think of myself as the gatekeeper. I'm the first house. If things get really bad, I might have to be extracting tolls when people arrive on the property. My parents live at the heart of the vineyard in the original Victorian that was built in 1876. And it's literally a house of 7 gables with a wraparound veranda. And my brother Lawrence, who manages all of the vineyards, lives in the far opposite corner with his wife and children. So we have this little Walton thing going on here that is incredibly special. And I have to say, you want to talk about being lucky. I am incredibly lucky. My father is 90 and my mother is 88, and they're just so exquisite, and I'm so lucky to be able to be with them literally at home during this time. I wanted to show you something. I don't know if you can see this, but this is what the cork looked like when I got it out of the bottle. And it's kind of interesting because here's a little pro tip for you. When you open your bottle of Iron Horse Bubbles, if the stem of the cork is very, very wide, that means that it was freshly disgorged. And over time, that cork stem gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So when you see it like this, you can, with authority, say, oh, this has been aging on the cork. And all of your friends and family will simply bow down to you because of your, see? Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, see, that's, so it's just sort of a fun little thing to play with. I wanted to mention also, I I don't know if you all are game for drinking a Magnum while shelter in place.
Right now? Let's go. Lori, go grab it. We got a 3-liter. Go grab it. Let's go. Come on.
But you want to talk about bringing some joy into your life. Look, it's bigger than my head. The bring some joy into your life. This is all time the very best wine that we have. This is a 2000, and I say that because it's aged the longest, not because of the name, although of course it's near and dear to my heart, but it's aged 13 plus years, so it's even aged longer than this 2011, and it is just spectacular. And it feels to me that in this time of where we really want to inspire hope and joy and renewal and positive things, the joy would be absolutely my choice, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it to you. So, and it would be very fun for us to brunch next Sunday, if you're game, and we'll drink some joy. I mean, that'd be kind of fun. I don't know, I just thought of that. But maybe we could do that. Jeff, what do you think?
I'm thinking I'm going to open the 3-liter. Yes, it's much bigger than my head. That's for sure. That's a big bottle. What a beautiful, gorgeous inscription there, too. It's nicely etched. You see that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really.
My video's backwards, but anyway, yeah, mirrored.
And that's wedding cuvee, right?
Yeah.
Yes, of course,
yeah.
Our favorite.
AKA love potion. You know, it's infallible. It works every time.
That's right.
And you know, it does include a known aphrodisiac.
It does? What is it?
Well, I want everybody to hit their chat button.
Look, it's not even open yet. See, I can prove it.
Cool. Go to your chat and put in there what you think the known aphrodisiac is. Don't think too hard. All right? Don't think too hard. Just be a little spontaneous here.
I'll read the responses here if anybody wants to open their chat window and go ahead and type something in there. Alcohol. Someone says. Glenn Markin, yes.
First answer, right? Yes, absolutely.
Of course,
well, I was talking with our winemaker David Mungsgaard, and we both agreed that one of the big outcomes of these days is that people will be having more romantic dinners, and so we're thinking that there's going to be a baby boom, which I think is very, very positive. So here's to a baby boom. Now, I do want to mention that if you do, for some dumb reason, you don't finish your bottle, your magnum of joy. Obviously, a 750 like this, you're going to finish. But if you don't have one of these gizmos, this is a champagne stopper, and it works.
They're literally littered around my house. There's probably 7 or 8 of them all over. Every room has one.
Well, that's for when you're doing a wine tour in your house.
That's right, exactly.
Wine tour, wine in the kitchen, wine in the living room. That's a wine tour. I don't know if you all have had that tour, but it works for me. The only question I've had about the wine tour in your house is whether it's a different bottle of wine in each room or if you're walking around with the same wine. That is, I think, a matter of, it could be, like an Easter egg hunt, which would be kind of fun. And you could have bottles of wine hidden in different rooms, and then you could go find them and open them. I wanted to show you also another tip for keeping the bubbles in your sparkling wine, and that is a spoon, a silver spoon. And I have no idea if this works or not because this is simply not a problem in my house. We drink the bubbles. But they say that if you put a silver spoon in the bottle, it will help preserve the bubbles. I have no earthly idea why that would be the case, but that's what they say. My personal experience is if you just keep the bottle cold. So what I'm doing right now is ill-advised. Um, if I were to run and put this in the refrigerator every time I refresh my glass, that's going to help preserve the bubbles for a longer period of time. Whereas if you leave it out and
Joy, what about this?
yes.
on a stand that's exactly the right height to grab it and pour.
That's the way to go. That's
Okay.
the way to go. So that is the most important thing for preserving the bubbles. I did want to mention a red wine. Traditionally, for Passover, we drink red wine. As you know, at the Seder, we drink 4 cups of wine, and we say our absolute favorite prayer over the fruit of the vine. And under the circumstances, I feel that our home block Pinot Noir is absolutely the right choice. The home block is a section of vineyard immediately adjacent to my parents' home. It is significantly the most sheltered part of our vineyard, and so it just feels like for shelter in place, this is the wine to have for Passover. And I'm going to post on Facebook later on today. My brother showed me a hilarious image, meme of the Last Supper of Christ by himself at the table and all the other disciples up in the Zoom windows. They're not all there because not all of them have broadband, but it is just an hilarious meme, and I'll post that on. If I had been thinking, I would have been able to show it to you right now. But so, do you have any questions that you want to ask?
Yeah, actually, someone has a question here. Hang on one second. There we go. As soon as they respond and answer their request here. Anybody else have any questions while this person is sitting there?
So one thing I want to mention while Jeff is looking for
any
questions.
My mom. My mom has a question.
Yay! Thank you. Aren't you beautiful?
Hi, Joy. It's been a long time since I've seen you.
You look wonderful.
Well, thank you. That means a lot when you're as old as I am.
Oh, shoot. Come on. Come on.
So my question is, what presidential administrations have you served your wine to? I know it's been quite a few, but I'd forgotten who exactly you served to.
Oh, my gosh.
Who was the first?
Thank you for that. That is really one of the pillars of our prestige is that we are now amazingly on our 6th consecutive presidential administration to serve Iron Horse. And it started with the Reagan administration choosing Iron Horse for the historic summit meetings with Mikhail Gorbachev, which ended the Cold War. So as you can imagine, my family, we take complete credit for ending the Cold War. And if we can just prove that alcohol cures coronavirus, we will be really, really on top of things.
Only Chinese cuvee will do that.
Okay, well, whatever.
Well, you know what?
Whatever
you've got to have a sense of humor through all of this. If we don't have a sense of humor, we've got nothing.
True. True. And one of the great things about bubbles is that it tends to spark laughter. And that is part of the comfort of it, is that it does make you laugh and smile and think good thoughts. So every president since the Reagans, including the current one, which is quite astonishing that we have both Republicans and Democrats. Iron Horse is completely ecumenical. Our wine has been served to the Queen of England, the President of China, the 2 prime ministers of the UK. I mean, it's really exciting and quite quite an honor. But the biggest honor is when you all enjoy it, because from the White House to our house, that's sort of what it's about.
That's great. We got one more question here from Barry Graff. Mr. Graff, greetings. You're muted. Hang on a second. Unmute. Unmute yourself.
I did.
There you go.
There you go. Oh, hi.
Hello, Joy. How are you?
Barry, where are you from?
What is that gorgeous background?
It is where I live in the Santa Cruz Mountains. My house is back in the canyon back there.
How beautiful. Lucky you.
Well, lucky you too.
Thank you.
We're all lucky to be alive.
And to be Californians, I might add.
Yes, exactly.
What's your question, Barry?
What was my question? Let me look. I put it up there.
How many acres do you have for your champagne?
Thank you. That's what I was looking at. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you do the math here. We have 164 acres in vine. It's about, and I would say that 60% of our production is sparkling wine.
Wow.
So there you go. But the different parts of the vineyard for still or for sparkling are determined by a couple of things. Number one, the aspect of that particular vineyard section. So what's down by the creek bed, for example, we're going to probably, where the fog settles, we're probably going to use that more for sparkling wine. So different sections of the vineyard. Also, particular blocks are planted to specific clones. So right at the winery, when you're at the tasting room and that vineyard that's spilling out at your feet, those 3 blocks from the edge of the property to the drive all the way up, that's all specific Pinot Noir blocks. So that's where North Block, Winery Block, and Deergate come from, and those are primarily for still wine. But it's not set in stone. Mother Nature has a huge amount to say in what's going to go into sparkling versus still. I mean, if it suddenly gets really hot and the vineyard gets too far ahead of us, it may turn out in a vintage that those grapes would go into still wine instead of sparkling wine. So we're never in charge here. Mother Nature is in charge. And I do want to add, we only use our own grapes. We are completely estate bottled.
That's
and it is the foundation of our belief system that the only thing that is proprietary to us is the fruit. Everything else is just methodology. And so our entire marketing program is to make wines that are so incredibly distinctive and delicious that you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with an undeniable thirst for Iron Horse, and absolutely nothing else will do, not even chocolate milk.
Okay, we have another question here coming in from Steve Eastwood. Give him just a second here. Okay, Steve, you're unmuted. There you go. There he is. Hi, Steve.
There we are. Reading from Chicago.
And we've got the 2014 Blanc de Blanc.
Yeah, we polluted your Blanc de Blanc with orange juice.
That is not pollution. That is not pollution.
Orange juice.
Oh, I am so proud of you. Hi, how's your weather in Chicago?
It's actually one of those rare blue sky days. So, and it's a balmy 40 degrees. So, you wonder when winter's going to go away. Anyway, yeah, my question had to do with just, has there been any residual effect on the grapes or your operation as a result of the fires that we're in and all the smoke?
Great question.
Permeated your area.
Thank you so much. You know, it's hard to believe that we're so focused on the current crisis that there's a tendency to forget about the past crises and also anticipate what may lie still ahead of us. I'm not sure that fire season is going to
Locusts
give us
are
a
next. I
break.
think we've already had earthquakes, fires, viruses, locusts are coming.
Maybe fire season will get canceled, you know,
Yeah,
like the
right.
NBA or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that would be great.
But we, knock on wood, knock on wood, we did not have fires right on top of us. We could see them 10 miles to the east, 10 miles to the south, and of course we felt it in the air. And we certainly felt it in terms of, just like now, people coming to the winery. So we had that impact, but we did not, fortunately, have any impact in terms of disrupting our grape growing or winemaking or any problems with the grapes. Smoke taint is not something that we have had to deal with yet. Thank you. There are residual effects on everybody, not the least of which is insurance. Wildfire insurance is a huge crisis in California for all homeowners and all businesses. And so that has been a big difference. And then we also, generators are now a new capital investment that you just have to have, because as you can imagine, I don't know if you remember this, but you know, we had these power shutoffs by our utility, and the grapes don't really care, you know, and when they need to go into the press, or you need to put them in refrigerated tanks, or you know, the things that just need to happen in order to continue making your wine and not just throw out an entire vintage, requires energy. And so all wineries have learned that we just simply need to have more, and this is not unique to the wine world, but we need to have more control of our energy. So that's
Thank you.
that's a big change. And I just want to go back to the mimosa for a second. I am a total fan of mimosas. I just think they're delicious, and as long as you use delicious juice, I'm super happy with that. Berries are also wonderful. Right now, we're just starting to get strawberries in California, so strawberries in your sparkling wine is delicious. Raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, peaches. Mango is also really yummy if you drop it in there. And then if you really want to go to the dogs, Chinese buffet dogs, you can put a splash of vodka in there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I call that an overjoyed, and it is.
Oh man.
That will have you dancing in your kitchen.
We have a comment from Timothy Lockman. Not a question, but a comment. Thank you, Joy, for your authorship. I'm in the industry, and you and Iron Horse are two big reasons why. So this is a quick story about Joy and I, and how I became so enamored with Iron Horse. When I was in college, a young lad, many years ago, my mom gave me a book, and in the inscription on the inside says, "Your father and I would love to be in the wine industry someday." And it was Joy Sterling's book, A Cultured Life. Did I get that right?
Cultivated.
Cultivated. I was close. Close. Pretty close. It's been many years. Anyway, so yeah,
I hate to tell you how many years.
It was an amazing book, and the visualizations that I had when I read it when I was in college were just extraordinary. I had a couple of winemaking classes and wine tasting classes in college, and Joy was a huge inspiration for me getting into being a winemaker and getting into the industry. So I want to say thank you as well, and so does Timothy Lockman.
Well, Mr. Lockman and I are Facebook friends, so we get to chat every once in a while, and I really appreciate your messages. Thank you so much. And So a cultivated life. Amazingly, I still get a little royalty check from that. But I wrote that. That was a diary of the 1994 vintage
Wow.
at Iron Horse.
Wow. What year was the winery founded, Joy?
Winery, my parents found Iron Horse in 1976. And the winery opened in 1979.
And you decided, what was the failed vintage where your neighbors, you decided to actually convert to sparkling wine because of that? What year did that happen?
Well, it wasn't a failed vintage, but our first vintage of sparkling wine was 1980. But the way we got into making sparkling wine is that friends of ours from France came and tasted a rosé, a still wine rosé, a Van Gris, that we had made from Pinot Noir. We were having a picnic, and they tasted it and said, "This is the base wine for champagne. You need to make bubbles." And so we went to France and started making bubbles. Our first vintage from Iron Horse was Chardonnay, was 1978. Our first vintage of Pinot Noir was 79. And our first vintage of sparkling was 1980. So let me just elaborate on your mother's wonderful question, that first vintage of Blanc de Blanc that was served at the summit meetings, that was a 1983 Blanc de Blanc. So this was so early in our trajectory. And it really just made a giant, giant difference.
In the bottle. So my wife, the eternal optimist and always experimenter, she's not a vodka drinker, but she does like Bombay gin. So she Sapphire. So she added some of this to the sacrilege to the Chinese, and she's saying it's extremely good. So I mean, to each his own, right?
Well, let me just say there is a very famous drink, the French 76, 75. 70 whatever, and it's something. But and we do have a wonderful local gym here, Sip Song, and so that play. It's not, you have plenty of time on your hands. You can play with bubbles. I think I highly recommend it. Hey, Jeff, do we have any more questions?
We actually do. You know
Okay.
what? Because I'm over 55 now, I need to put my glasses on to see this.
Ooh.
Question. I have already been asked, loving this experience. We were just thinking that we miss the Oyster Girls and Nat Geo bottle with the salt and vinegar chips. We are in for brunch next weekend. Thank you all so much for getting us through this crisis. That was from Claudia Friedman.
Aw, that's so sweet. I miss the Oyster Girl. Today is Sunday. We would be having normally Oyster Sundays. April through October. It's just on hold. It's just
Claudia has another recipe here. French 75, gin,
thank you.
bubbles, lemon, simple syrup. Okay, that's cool. And Steve Eastwood. Steve, thanks for recognizing this for sure. Shout out to Sarah in your sales department. Her calls are timely, enthusiastic, contagious, and she knows what we like. That's awesome.
Yay, Sarah.
That's great.
We have the most wonderful phone team, and I so
I've gotten calls. They're pretty good. They're good.
They're really great. They're really great, and it's fun to have someone. Most people really love to talk about wine, and I think one of the reasons we love to talk about wine, and this will be sort of my closing thought, and then I'll let you go on about your day, and we'll meet again next Sunday for brunch, which I really look forward to. But one of the reasons why I think people love to talk about wine is we're all right. Everything you think about the wine you are tasting is absolutely correct. It's like lying in the grass and looking up at the sky and looking at the clouds. You see a ship and I see a bear, and we're both right. And so we always can find common ground with wine, and it just, to me, it just is a symbol of our connection, all of us today. And I just want to wish you all well. Please stay healthy, and I will see you next Sunday.
Cheers, Joy. Thank you so
Cheers.
much.
Thank
Okay,
you
guys.
so much. Cheers.
I will be sending out another registration for next Sunday, Brunch with Joy. So same bat channel, same bat time. Join us then. Thanks, everybody.